I want to give you a quick update on the HSA from the big beautiful bill, and I have some bad news for you. Most of what I said in the previous video was removed as soon as the bill went from the House to the Senate. So yes, HSA got screwed, and I am disappointed. I really am. And I was tracking so many proposals to make HSAs better, to supercharge them into the ultimate retirement and healthcare tool. And a lot of that was in the original House version of the bill. But by the time the Senate got their hands on it and the final negotiations were done, most of the good stuff for HSAs was left on the chopping block. And there's still a glimmer of hope with something called the HSA Modernization Act, which is still kicking around in the House. But in this big bill, it's a shadow of what it could have been. So let me break down what made it to the bill and what did not. The first provision that got signed into law was Section 71306, and this one is actually pretty good and makes this safe harbor for telehealth services permanent. Now, what does that mean in plain English? It means your high deductible health plan can cover telehealth visits before you've met your deductible, and it won't disqualify you from contributing to your HSA. And this is a holdover from the pandemic era that everyone found incredibly useful. And think about it for a second. You can see a doctor over a video call for a minor issue without having to pay the full cost out of pocket just because your deductible is not met yet. And making this permanent is a common sense move that adds real convenience and value to having a high deductible plan. So yeah, this is definitely a solid win. Next, we've got section 71307. This is the other provision that made it all the way to President Trump's desk on the 4th of July. It officially allows bronze and catastrophic health plans from the Affordable Care Act marketplace to be compatible with an HSA. Now, this is an interesting one because previously these plans did not qualify for HSA eligibility, and this change opens the door for more people, especially those buying their own insurance, to pay a lower premium plan with a powerful savings vehicle of an HSA and expands access. And this is a good thing, right? It gives you guys more options, especially if you're self employed or retired before Medicare age and are navigating the individual market. And more choices usually mean you can find a better fit for your wallet. And if you're young, healthy, and want to save on premiums while building up your HSA, this could be a game changer. And the third one that made it to President Trump's desk on the 4th of July was Section 71308, which deals with direct primary care or DPC. And this is a growing model where you pay a flat monthly fee directly to a doctor's office for a whole range of primary care services. And this new rule does two things. First, it clarifies that being part of a DPC arrangement does not count as having another health plan. So it will not disqualify you from contributing to your HSA. And second, it allows you to pay those DPC membership fees directly from your HSA funds. And this is a fantastic development because it gives you the freedom to use your pre-tax HSA dollars for a more personal and direct relationship with your primary care physician, which is something a lot of people are looking for these days. So to recap, we got permanent telehealth coverage before the deductible, more HSA compatible plans on the ACA marketplace, and the green light to use our HSAs for direct primary care. And these are all positive steps because they add flexibility and utility to our accounts. But frankly speaking, they're table scraps compared to what we were hoping for. Now for the painful part. Let's talk about what did not make it into the one big beautiful bill. This is where my disappointment really kicks in because some of these proposals would have been game changers for everyone, especially for those of you in your 30s, 40s, and 50s who are in your peak earnings and savings years. The biggest gut punch, well, at least for me, was the removal of the increased HSA contribution limits. And the original bill that passed the House had a provision that was just incredible. It would have allowed individuals with income under $100,000 to contribute an extra $4,300 to their HSA, and married couples with income under $200,000 could have put in an extra $8,550. But by the time this bill reached the Senate, that provision had vanished faster than free pizza at a college store. Gone, completely removed. And I don't know what happened in those backroom negotiations. For a family, that would have meant being able to contribute over $17,000 a year to their HSA. It would have put the HSA on par with or even ahead of the 401k for many people as a retirement savings tool. The bad news does not stop there. The bill is completely silent on a bunch of other common sense reforms we were all rooting for. And there's nothing in there about allowing you to roll over funds from a flexible spending arrangement or FSA or a health reimbursement arrangement, or also known as an HRA, into your HSA. And this was such an easy thing to fix. People switch jobs, get a new health plan, and suddenly they have money trapped in an FSA with a use it or lose it deadline. And letting them roll that money into their long term HSA is a no brainer. But nope, not in the bill. They also did not do anything about the spousal FSA rule. And as it stands now, if your spouse has a general purpose FSA through their job, you are completely barred from contributing to an HSA, even if you're on a totally separate HSA eligible high deductible plan. And it's a frustrating and illogical rule that penalizes married couples for trying to be smart with their healthcare dollars. We were hoping they would fix it, but they did not. And here's a big one for many of you. The bill does absolutely nothing to change the rule that says once you're enrolled in any part of Medicare, you can no longer contribute to an HSA. And this was a huge proposal I was personally rooting for, that I even wrote letters to Congress about. So many people are working past age 65 and are still on a high deductible plan through their employer. Why should they not be able to keep saving in their HSA when they're on Medicare? It makes no sense. The bill could have changed that, allowing you to build up that tax-free medical nest egg even after you hit 65 and are enrolled in Medicare, but it was left out. And the other thing they did not touch on was the catch-up contribution rule for spouses. And right now, if you're 55 or older, you can contribute an extra $1,000 a year to your HSA, but if you and your spouse are both over 55 and share a single family plan, only one of you can make that catch-up contribution to that HSA. To get both the benefits, you have to open separate accounts, which is not always practical or possible depending on the health plan and the job situation. The proposal was to allow both spouses to make a catch-up contribution into a single family HSA. It would have been a simple, logical fix, and like the others, it's nowhere to be found in the final bill. So with the bill being a letdown, where does that leave us for 2026? Well, the IRS operates on its own schedule, and they've already released the official HSA contribution limits for 2026, and they're seeing a slight bump for inflation. For 2026, the maximum contribution for an individual with a self-only plan will be $4,400. And for those of you on a family plan, the max contribution will be $8,750. And of course, the catch-up contribution for those of you 55 or older remains the same at an extra $1,000. Now, remember that rule we just talked about. If you and your spouse are both 55 or older, you need to have separate accounts so that each can contribute that extra grand. Otherwise, you can only contribute $1,000, even if both of you are over the age of 55. Even without the big enhancements from the bill, the HSA remains, in my opinion, the most powerful investment account available. And I personally prioritize maxing out my HSA every single year, even before my Roth IRA. And it's because of that incredible triple tax advantage. You put money in pre-tax dollars. It grows tax-free, and you can withdraw it for qualified medical expenses completely tax-free. You just cannot beat it. It is a retirement account and a healthcare account all rolled into one. And as you get older and healthcare costs inevitably rise, right? Having a six-figure HSA balance that you can tap without paying a single dime in taxes is going to be a lifesaver. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not completely bitter about everything in this bill, but what really frustrates me is the missed opportunity. And we had a chance to make HSA significantly more powerful for middle class Americans, and Congress decided that other priorities were more important. And I'm not saying that those other priorities were wrong, but when you look at the long term benefits of expanded HSAs, more healthcare savings, less dependence on government programs, better retirement security, it seems like a no-brainer. The thing about HSAs that politicians may be not getting and maybe not understanding is that they solve multiple problems at once. And they provide a tax advantage way to save for retirement healthcare costs, which are going to be massive for most of us, right? And they reduce the pressure on government healthcare programs by giving people more resources to handle their own medical expenses. But here's what I'll do. I will keep tracking developments on the HSA front and let you know if anything changes. In the meantime, make the most of the HSA rules we do have. because even in their current form, they're still one of the best tax advantage savings vehicles available to the average Americans. In the meantime, get your free resources or fire calculator by visiting firestructure.com/resources or schedule a consultation with me by visiting firestructure.com/consultation to discuss further about your HSA.